song, a book, and a dish.
On 702.
Yeah, it's that time of the week. We always look forward to it on 702 Drive, where we get to talk to somebody who you kind of know well, but we do crafty little things. We ask them about books that are special to them. We ask them about food. We ask them about music. And we find other ways to get to know a person that we think we already know. My guest today is someone you do know well, though. Loyiso Gola has been a star of South African comedy, both on screen and on stage, for many, many years. Probably coming up for 2 decades now, Loyiso Gola.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a fair old time. But you've got a new show, and welcome to our show. April 17 to 29, you're going to be at the Theatre on the Square, as I understand it, touring around the country as well. As you're preparing for a new show, what's involved? Because there's a sense of spontaneity about the work that you do, but I would have thought there's a huge amount of work that goes into it to make that happen.
Yeah, the spontaneity is just the feeling.
Yes.
I'm as prepared as because there's not enough rooms in South Africa where I can try material out.
Yes.
I usually go to the UK for I went now for 2 months.
Okay.
And you work every night. You just figure stuff out. You do hours and hours of material, and you figure ideas out, and then you are able to perform them like holistically. Do you know what I mean? In a show way. So that's a lot of the preparation. But the feeling of spontaneity is just that. It's a feeling.
So that testing of material, I mean, some people might think, okay, in the UK, different reference points, different comedy traditions, perhaps. What were you looking for there, and what did you find?
Stage time more than anything. Yeah. I think like the stuff I generally talk about sort of transcends culturally. Yes. Like if I'm talking about a cow giving birth,
yes,
that doesn't need a specific cultural reference, right? I just make fun of a cow giving birth, and there are particular subjects that kind of transcend that. So I think I'm one of those guys who don't really. Like if I'm in the UK, people understand the thing without me having to explain much. But obviously, there's a definite cultural switch. And I'll tell you, like how if you watch American stand-up, and particularly from black acts,
yes,
South African to a large extent as well. There's always like the antagonist of your ideas are, let's say, white people.
Yes.
So you go, oh man, white people do it, or whatever. And that's an American thing, and it's South African thing to an extent. But if you go to Kenya and you go to Uganda and maybe Tanzania, they don't do that.
Yes, yes.
Because they're literally like, white people are literally like 2% population, and then they're not antagonists. So when you do that kind of stuff there, they kind of go, okay, I guess that's what happens in your life. Yes. But it's not, you know what I mean? It's not, yeah. So you got to kind of time those things.
Yes.
As opposed to topic shifts.
Yes.
You have to be cognizant of the cultural dynamics at play.
Right. So let's go way back in time now. Grew up in Gugulethu. What did your early school reports say?
It wasn't great. I generally didn't. I mean, listen, at the time they'll thrust you in an English speaking school, and you don't. I mean, I only really started speaking English properly like at age 10.
Okay.
So half of the time it's just that the first 3 grades are not as complicated. So if you are a generally sharp human being,
yes,
you kind of get the.
You stay afloat.
You stay afloat. So
yes,
I was one of those. I was one of those kids who just stayed afloat. Like I remember, like I still couldn't speak in an oral. Not because I didn't have the confidence. I just didn't have the words.
Yes.
I didn't have the language. I didn't have the. So, but it also came with it's like we went to. I sound like ancient now, but we were the kids when the country was transforming. So it was like, yo, go to that school.
Yes.
You're like, yeah, but I don't have the language for the school. Oh, figure it out, kid. Just go. And then you just there and you figure. So school was frustrating to me more than anything at some point,
When did you realize that you enjoyed performing? It may not have been comedy, but were you the guy in school plays? Were you a singer?
No, not necessarily. I only really, I just used to partake in drama like any other kid.
Yes.
But I do remember I used to make my parents laugh really hard.
What
I used to
did
do
you
like
do that
in-
make them laugh?
Like I remember I used to do this impression of F.W. de Klerk. And I think, and they'd just be like, what the hell's wrong with this kid? And I would just, because I would get their nuances right.
Yes.
And I remember they would just be killed. And then I remember at the time, I remember Khoisan X, Benny Alexander.
Yes.
Like I'd watch the news with them.
Yes.
It would be absolutely boring for me. But then I'll imitate the people and then they'll just be killed.
And would you repeat what they'd said, or would you take what they'd said and use it to say something else and make jokes?
I would just get the gist of the accent.
Yes.
And then I'd say some random thing. I don't remember how I constructed that, but I did construct just sentences. Like
So you wouldn't scold your siblings in Madiba's voice or anything like that?
No, it would be more like, I remember the FW. We're very, that kind of.
Yes.
So I'd get those kind of things. So I'd just imitate people, and also like I would just say something that everyone is thinking. So I kind of got that idea.
So you're making people laugh, and so since we're in your house, let's go to the dinner table.
Okay.
Meals in the Gola household. You've got an older sister. You've got a younger brother.
I didn't grow up with my older sister.
Okay.
I grew up with my younger brother.
Okay, so there's two young boys at the table, and what's happening at mealtime? You making everybody laugh. What else is going on?
I'm not. It wasn't like a consistent thing.
Yes.
It would happen occasionally. What I remember when we were always playing card games.
At dinner.
Dinner, it would always be like Crazy Eights or like my mom's trying to teach us this game she used to play in high school. We're like, we don't understand. Can we go back to Crazy Eight? Snakes and ladders, that kind of stuff. I remember like on my birthday, I don't know if I can say this because it's almost free advertising in that way, but I relished KFC.
Yes.
It was just like, wow. I remember on my birthday, if you took me to KFC, it's made, man, it's done. And then you get like some chicken and that roll. And it was just, a Zinger burger when the Zinger burgers just came out with a slice of pineapple.
Yeah.
Man, you could bribe me with that.
Okay, so it was go to KFC for your birthday, but when we asked you for your favorite dish, Umngqusho
Mhlophe.
samp with no beans. What's wrong with beans? Has beans, I suppose.
Nah, I prefer it without beans.
Okay.
But I read this book a while ago called, there's a professor called, it's a very academic book in that way. I don't know how I finished it, but I finished it. It's about this protein called lectin, which is the cousin of gluten.
Okay.
And it's on everything. Well, he basically says that everything that's lived over on the planet for thousands and millions of years is a way to protect itself. And most things have this thing called lectin. And it's like a poisonous thing that everything has.
Yes.
And it's very prevalent in like seeds. And a bean is a seed.
Okay.
And it's very like if you think of what is this? A chili. Think of a chili.
Yes.
If you remove the seeds of the chili,
yes,
it won't be hot.
As hot. It'll still be hot.
It'll be hot. Yeah, but the hotness comes from the seeds.
Yes.
Absolutely. So that's the seed protecting itself from you eating it.
So this is a long way of saying no beans. No beans for me.
No beans, yeah.
Okay.
I am very long-winded, sorry.
No, it's
but I
important.
did grow up liking with the beans, but even I think had I read the book or not read the book, I think that I still would prefer
You'd have had a look at those beans as not belonging. Speaking of books, Loyiso, you picked the status game, Will Storr, on social status and how we use it. I have not read it. But you tell me why, out of all the books, that's your book, the one that you highlight.
It's the most recent book that kind of because I like reading about things I'm interested in.
Yes.
So I'm interested in my idea of status, my
Right.
personal journey of status.
Yeah.
And I don't really care much about many things that people value as status. Like I live a very humble life. There's things I care about. But then I was kind of interrogating that. I read a book called Status Anxiety by Alain de Botton, who's a French Swiss dude. And
Yeah.
then he recommended in a podcast, people who've read that book should read this. And I read this book called Status Game, which blew my mind because it talks about, there's a chapter where he talks about prisoners and it's like there's a guy who just wouldn't leave prison.
Yes.
Because when he comes out, he's just a regular person that no one cares about. But in jail, he's respected. His name rings bells. He moves things. You know what I mean? As much as if there's a constraint of how he moves, but there's a status that comes with that. And then you kind of wonder, like, repeat offenders. Could they be obsessed with the status of being in jail? And this guy went into jail for a 5-year term. He ended up being there for 30 years.
Yeah.
And when he was fine, he's like, in life, I'm just an ordinary guy. But in there,
I'm someone.
I'm someone.
Let's talk about music because we're coming to the end of our time. We've done the book, we've done the dish. Song, Bill Withers, I Can't Write Left-Handed.
It's a very clever political song. It talks about the Vietnam War because I think they recorded in 72.
73, yeah.
73, and it's like a protest song, but he's talking about the war and he talks about his engagement with a young soldier. And he's been shot in his arm and he can't write with his left hand. And the song is just a beautiful song. And there's no like studio recording of it. He only did it once in Carnegie Hall and sort of like and he was riffing. And it's such a beautiful riff of a song talking about something that's happening and the war just ended. And they were just like, these kids have just come home and, they can't write, they're missing limbs, they're disturbed in the mind, and this is what war means. And he sings about it and it's a beautiful song. So that's my favorite protest song. And you would think that all the stuff we're going through now, there'll be way more protest songs. You are so wrong.
Yeah. But you're right about it being a beautiful song, the special sound of Bill Withers. Loyiso Gola, thanks so much for sharing with us your song, your book, and your dish. Go and check Loyiso out. He's at the Theatre on the Square from the 17th of April. He's in other parts of the country as well. Look it up on the internet. Thanks so much for your time.
All right, cool. Thank you. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
I can't write left-handed. Would you please write a letter to my mother?